Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing very well. Today we are going to have a little bit more of a sit down video, but we're going to be having a very important chat. We're going to be having some chats about my previous routine, which was terrible, my current routine, which I believe is much better, but generally just taking you through things you can be doing to make your life much easier, to make your bodybuilding process so much easier, and to ultimately enable you to make so much more progress than you potentially are doing at the moment. And these are things that I wish somebody had told me sooner, or somebody had sat me down and had a good chat with me and said, like, Loz, these are things that if you want to be making the most progress, or if you want to be feeling better on the day-to-day, these are things that you could be doing, you should be doing, and you absolutely can be doing. So we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have a chat about some of these things today. I'm gonna be super honest about some of the things that I used to do and how I've really changed them, and hopefully these are things that you can apply into your day-to-day life as well to make things better for you. I think the main purpose of this video really is for me to help you to just not make the process necessarily harder than it needs to be, because there's going to be two parts to your bodybuilding process, where one is you making the most progress that you possibly can do, irrelevant of whatever phase you're in, but then also managing that alongside your normal life. Irrelevant of whether you work in the industry or not, you're still going to have a lot of other things that you need to manage alongside your bodybuilding processes, or the things that you need to do to tick your goals as you work towards your bodybuilding goals as well. So being able to manage your routine and to make the most of your routine to get the most of that is so important. The thing is that, like, despite bodybuilding now for around 6 years, the most progress that I have made both within my bodybuilding journey and also outside of that from a business side of things has come within the past 3 years. I spent those initial 3 years maybe not making as much progress as I could have done, predominantly just down to how I managed my own actions. And I think that going through this past kind of period in my life where I have done so many different things, yet still actually made really good progress, has just kind of highlighted the importance of, it's not necessarily like what you do, but it's how you do those things, and you can nail your routine to make those things better. Honestly, I went from a time when I was at uni, and in the grand scheme of things, I probably had the least workload that I ever had in my life. But at that point in time, my stress was the highest that it had ever been. And then going through periods where I then built my business and being in the position that I am now, my workload's the highest that it's been, but I'm also in the least stressed position I've ever been. And I think that for anyone, you know, who wants to see that transformation in their routine, if you want to see that progress as a bodybuilder and within all the other things in your life as well, you have to take acknowledgement of those things. And I'm going to talk through some of these things now that will definitely help you to move forwards and make some of the improvements that you want to see as well. These are going to be things that improve your well-being, that improve your organization, and that limit your stress. The less stress that you have within your routine, the easier that you make things for yourself, the better, the more progress that you will make. Okay, so tip number one is going to be having a morning routine. Having your day set up to be organized, to have good structure, and to be well planned. I used to quite literally just wake up at the latest time possible, or the latest time that I needed to do to go to a lecture, or to get certain bits of work done, or to go and train, whatever it may be in the day. It was really just fit things in when they need to be fitted in. The days were so differing in times I'd wake up, times that I would do things. There was nothing that was keeping those days in similar structure or similar routine, and that in itself just made things feel so chaotic. So when you're coming to trying to get your meals in on a day-to-day, you know, if you have anywhere from 5 to 6 meals to eat in a day-to-day, waking up at a similar time so that you can start getting those meals in at the same time, have similar meal timings, and making sure that you have enough time to even prep your meals, making sure that you have enough time in the day to get your water in, to make sure that you are actually organized for the day ahead. Just limiting that stress. And even when I'm looking at, you know, times that I'd need to get up to do certain things, you still have an opportunity in the morning. If you choose to get up at the same time, you can create a window where you can basically give yourself more time, more availability, more opportunity to make stuff happen. And I think that this was a huge game changer for me when I shifted from simply just being like a uni student and trying to do all my bodybuilding things and fitting them in somewhere in the day, to actually then trying to build my business and being the best bodybuilder possible, where I realized if I wanted to do all of those things, I needed to make sure that I gave myself the time, the opportunity in the day to make that stuff happen. So if you kind of look at my current morning routine, to put this into huge contrast, where previously I'd be waking up, rolling out of bed, getting dressed, scoffing a meal down and rushing out of the house. Now it's a case of waking up at a similar time where I know I have that opportunity for headspace and organization. I wake up, I have the ability to go downstairs, hydrate, have a coffee, have some time to myself where I'm able to do some journaling, do some organization for the day, wake up at a time where I can do 4 to 6 hours of work before I go to the gym or before I do other things. And when I was still at university, before I had to go into lectures, I'd wake up at a time where I could have an opportunity to do coaching work or do other bodybuilding related tasks before I'd have to go and do those other obligations. So giving yourself the opportunity to do those things in the morning and set up a good productive baseline for the day is absolutely crucial to getting a good foundation in place. Now, the second tip is going to come to creating a good routine around training. It doesn't matter when you train, you might train in the morning, might train late at night, but whenever you train, create a routine around that enables you to get the best performance outcomes from your session possible. The most common thing that I see being a negative contributor towards your training routine or your ability to have good training sessions is like being distracted by different things in your day, not having a separation from coming from work, coming from your personal life, coming from other stresses into then going into your training session. So remove those distractions and have some form of pre-session routine that works well for you. If you don't have time to sit and, watch your training video and eat your pre-workout, because at the end of the day, sometimes we have to travel from jobs, travel from different areas. Maybe even just give yourself 2 to 5 minutes to walk on the treadmill and maybe watch a little bit of a short snippet of a video to get you into session, or listen to some music that gets you nice and focused. And then when you go into your session, limit those distractions. I used to go in off the back of big days of work of uni, I'd rush into the gym, I'd probably be on my phone responding to messages, having notifications, having work notifications come through during a session and allowing myself to be distracted by that, and that was not contributing towards my best training performance. No way. And I see it all the time, and it just adds a huge stressor to a part of your day that should be such a precious time. Remember, we all train because we love to train and because it's something that adds so much positivity into our life. That is pretty much, for most people, it's time for you. So make sure that you prioritize that time for you. Don't let other things in your routine start to take away from that, whether it be before training, whether it be after training. Try and create a little bit of a window before and after those two things to let yourself get into the zone for that time and make the most out of that time as well. Take time away from work before training, after training, get to the session, write my logbook out, be able to really visualize things and utilize and remember that that is my time to switch into athlete mode. Whilst a lot of our other bodybuilding tasks throughout the day kind of just carry on, that training window is really your main athlete mode time. So make sure that you try and switch yourself into that period, no matter where you're coming from, no matter what's gone on into that day. You have the ability to control how you think going into that session and what you're able to take out of it as well. So that's probably one of the main things that you should be prioritizing there. Tip number 3 is actually kind of on the flip side of tip number 2. And this is about, instead of being completely focused in on your bodybuilding goals, it's actually about coming away from those things. And this kind of relates to having that structure in your day, having that separation of different tasks so that those tasks can be more effective. And this for me comes to switching away from bodybuilding, having times where I can actually de-stress, refresh, and actually recover well too. This is where my evening routine or my time after training used to always be very rushed. It used to be a time where I would be stressed doing other things and busy doing last minute jobs, instantly coming out of a session and rushing into one thing or another because I wouldn't have given myself the time availability that I needed to, and that was never ever going to be good for my recovery. Of course, now I tend to train in the evening, so I have the ability to actually wind down after training. If you do train in the mornings, still make sure that that window after training is a time where you're not suddenly rushing into something else. If you can, like I mentioned with your wait times, create some more time for yourself in the morning so that you're not rushing straight from a session, straight to work or straight into another job, the better opportunity that you have to actually come down from that, to separate away from that, not be in such a stressed state for the remainder of your day, be able to maybe get some better sleep in the evening and to be able to actually recover better. But if you are training later on in the evening, usually that time for you is an opportunity for you to wind down. Use it to wind down, and don't allow yourself to get distracted by things that aren't going to be beneficial for you at that time of the day. I definitely used to come home from the gym and, like I say, just be distracted by things that were stressing me out or were just not a productive use of my time, like sitting on my phone for hours in bed or just scrolling through pointless things and just basically wasting time that I could have been utilizing more effectively or having a little bit more driven intent behind it. Like now I will make sure that that time is for relaxation and not just scrolling through bodybuilding, or not having more of my day filled with more like even just conflicting bodybuilding content. So now I will generally come home from the gym and I will have my post-workout, I'll be more relaxed. You guys will have seen this in my full day of eating, but I will put my phone away and my work will be put away once the remainder of kind of any work jobs, any work messages have been responded to. Work will be put away, laptop, MacBook will be switched off, and I'll make sure to actually switch myself away from bodybuilding, put my blue light blockers on, and watch something non-bodybuilding related, spend some time with AJ, or maybe go and spend some time with my family if there's anything on in that evening. But for the most part, have time to actually switch off, have time to de-stress at that point in the evening. And that really allows me to just have good sleep as well. And that brings me on to tip number 4, which is actually give yourself a good sleep routine. And this is going to be crucial for you if you actually really want to grow and you actually really want to recover from your sessions and from the work that you're putting in. Yes, it helps massively from a productivity standpoint, but it's also such a crucial tool as a human being for just like simple function on a day-to-day, but especially as a bodybuilder if we're wanting to make the most progress that we possibly can do as well. So setting a relatively consistent sleep routine and wake time will make a huge difference. As I kind of mentioned before, your wake time is probably going to be a little bit more important. Sometimes you can't always have the same sleep routine. Things will maybe be a little bit up and down, but generally keeping things within a rough window will have a really, really positive effect. And actually having the same sort of wake time has a more positive effect on your circadian rhythm as well. So making sure to prioritize those two where you can do is super, super important. I used to really just go to bed and wake up at random times on different days. My energy would be so up and down, my performance would be so up and down as a result of it, because it just simply wasn't a tool that I took ownership of, and sleep is absolutely a tool that you need to take ownership of. So there's definitely some good things that you can take on board if you're trying to set yourself a good sleep routine when it comes to actually getting to sleep. The first thing I've already kind of mentioned, like put your phone away, try and put distractions away so that you're no longer basically thinking about other things than relaxing and getting your body ready to go to sleep. I generally will put my phone away like around 3 hours pre-bed so that I can kind of switch that distraction away from myself. Blue light blockers are a great one to put on here. There's obviously arguments as to whether people really think they work or not, but even just the placebo effect of it can be fantastic. You know, if that's a cue that you give to yourself, like every night, you know, when you put those blue light blockers on, that's when you're kind of switching off, that's when you're getting ready to go to bed. That can have a huge positive effect within itself. Setting up a good environment for your sleep too is massive. Be mindful of the room in which you sleep, be mindful of the things that you're doing around that environment too. Like for example, when I lived at uni, I used to spend all my time pretty much in my bed. I didn't have any sort of concept of separating that. So I'd, do work in my bed. I'd spend a lot of time just on my phone in my bed. I'd lay in bed on my phone for hours before going to sleep, just put my phone away and then expect myself to suddenly fall asleep. When there's no separation in terms of the task that I'm doing, there's no ability for my body to really switch off because I've spent hours just scrolling through Instagram and then I'm trying to just suddenly go to sleep. Like, your body is just not going to want to do that. So even if you live in like a single dorm, for example, or you live in shared accommodation, try and separate spaces within your room. Try and use like your desk for doing work. Try and even sit in different places whilst you are like switching off or watching TV programs or going elsewhere or trying to do work outside of your room when you can do. Like, these things will really, really help to create that positive environment. If you do have the ability to separate your bedroom from where you do other things, avoid spending much time in there outside of sleep. Use that room for sleep time and try not to use it for anything else. Now, number 5, this is probably one of the best things that I can recommend to anyone, is have an actual understanding in your day with the amount of screen time that you limit yourself to. I used to have no limitations on screen time, and this is back before, you know, actually being on my phone was part of my job. I used to just let it consume my day from the moment I woke up to the moment that I went to bed. It meant that I struggled a lot more mentally with my bodybuilding processes because I was probably taking on board so much social media. I was not getting the things done that I needed to do because it was massively limiting my productivity. It just drained me big time. And when I woke up in the morning, first thing I do, reach my phone, open Instagram or open different apps and just kind of scroll and go through them. You know, even things like TikTok, like, I don't have them anymore. I used to back in 2019, and I actually deleted it because I realized how much time it was taking away from me and it wasn't giving me anything in return. And I think that having a good awareness of those things that don't benefit you is really, really important. I think no matter what your job, no matter what you do, when you wake up in the morning, the best advice I can give you is do not go on your phone for a good half an hour to an hour if you can do. It's going to be amazing for your understanding of what you need to do in the day, but also for your mental health, which having a strong mindset, having good well-being, having low stress as an athlete is so important. So definitely in the morning, throughout the day, have an understanding of the times where it's going to be beneficial for you. I will go on it for WhatsApp if I need to, of course, to get back to clients, but outside of that, I won't go on Instagram until all my work is done and I need to maybe post something from work side of things. But really the only time I actually go on my phone will be after training, when I need to do an Instagram post and share some stories, and then I have a 30-minute time limit on there. So, and it's just made an absolute world of difference. So be aware of when you are actually maybe over consuming content, spending too much time on your phone for a multiple number of reasons, and just set yourself simple limits on that we do when it's like we want to do more of this or we want to do less of this. We have to simply tell ourselves and be disciplined and say, okay, we're not going to do this because we know that it's not going to lead to a good outcome or it's not benefiting us. And you have the power to do that. You just need to give that to yourself. This probably should be at the top of your list, as being aware of it, because this can just take over your entire day. And now I understand it has a purpose. It has a purpose for work, has a purpose for creativity, has a purpose for entertainment when it needs to, but it all comes into creating positivity towards my day, and not draining the negativity away from me when it needs to. Okay, tip number 6 is going to be having some time within your day to work on your mindset or to also work on your well-being too. Being an athlete, being a really, really good athlete comes with having a very strong mindset. It's something that some of us maybe have been nurtured with growing up, some of us maybe haven't, but I think no matter what, being able to develop upon that on a day-to-day basis to get yourself into the strongest position that you possibly can be in is so powerful. It makes a huge difference on the way that you think and the way that you act on a day-to-day basis, but it also, of course, as a bodybuilder, has a huge effect on the way that you perform in the gym. If you want to go and train and you want to do things that you've never done before, if you want to be making the most progress that you possibly can do, you need to have complete and utter self-belief. You need to be working on being the strongest, the best, the most confident version of yourself, and having time dedicated in your day to work on that, whatever it may be for you. It might be having better focus, it might be being more composed, being calmer, having more self-belief, limiting self-doubt, whatever those things are, find what works for you and what you need to work on, and give yourself, like, it can be as small as 5 or 10 minutes in your day to work on that. Me personally, I used to do absolutely nothing first and I used to really struggle. I used to really struggle with self-doubt. I used to really struggle with my focus in my sessions, being able to be composed in my sessions, and seeing progress, because I was limiting my own progress as a result of what was going on in here. And now every day for 5 or 10 minutes, I do some form of journaling, and sometimes this involves gratitude, sometimes this involves different methods that, you know, work well for me, but for the most part, the base point of that is journaling, so that I can understand myself and that I can better myself as much as I possibly can. I implement this in the morning because it works really well within my morning routine. I do it before I start any of my work for the day, so that I can start the day in a really good mindset. For you, it might work well to do it in an evening, in the middle of the day, whatever works best for you, but dedicate some time to that for yourself in the day, and that will really help you take that development to the next stage. The final tip for this video is going to be tip number 7, and that is having the skill of being adaptable within your routine. I know some people will probably look at this with the opinion that I have, you know, full freedom of my routine now. You know, now that I am self-employed, I can choose when I do certain things. I can have more free reign over, you know, when I do wake up, having that morning routine and being able to take time to do X, Y, and Z. But when you have a very fluctuating routine, that's not always the case. And I do know that because I've been in a position where that has been the case for me. When I was at university and I had very different fluctuating times of needing to be in for lectures for different classes, having to travel to different places, whilst also having a part-time job, whilst also then doing online coaching, whilst also working on other qualifications to boost my online coaching, and also working on my own bodybuilding processes. There's a lot to take into consideration, but it's all absolutely doable. You have to have a skill for adaptability. You have to have a skill and a want and a desire to be organized and to fit all of these things in. I think when you have a true desire to do something and to achieve these things, it doesn't have to be one thing. If you want to achieve multiple different things, it's all absolutely doable, but you have to want to make it happen. And you have to have times in your day where you set in stone a plan to do those things, and you have to have an understanding that every day may not look perfect, but you can still get things done in the best way that you possibly can do, and have that expectation that you might need to train at different days. Your eating times are probably going to have to be at different times. You might have to meal prep at different times, but you need to be adaptable and you need to be flexible towards that in order to make it happen. But those are just 7 things to really go through. I mean, I could talk about this for probably hours and hours, so it's been quite hard to cram it all down into something a little bit more short form. But if anyone has, you know, any questions or anything that you're specifically struggling with in your own routine, just let me know, pop a comment below, and we can start a little bit of discussion. I can hopefully give you some more help from there as well. But I do hope that this has been really helpful to just put those things out there that I wish I'd acknowledged earlier. I wish that somebody maybe would have told me sooner. I mean, I'm glad that the people around me helped me to work on these things at the point that they did, because we all have to learn at some point. But I do definitely hope that by me sharing it at this point for you guys has given you something insightful to take away. But yeah, really enjoyed doing this video. Of course, we'll bring some more stuff moving forwards as well to the channel. And if you have any requests, do just let me know. But if you have made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it, and I will catch you again in the next one.